Welcome to Eat This. Eat this. This week, we're having lunch with Ryan Batten, product management professional, wonderful cooking partner, and fantastic friend. We've primarily worked together as friends who get drunk cooking elaborate meals together, but also recently did some product management and operations consulting work together. For lunch, we had some toast sandwiches, pea puree with fennel, carrots, and orange, and a beet puree with pickled golden beets and basil. Let's dive right in.
Hello, I am Brian Batten. I am a close friend of Sean's. And I'm going to walk with this thing as I talk. We hang out together, we kind of work together, we have done some creative endeavors together, and looking forward to doing some more. Good questions for me?
I have a set of questions. The first thing is not really a question, just taking a moment to acknowledge that we had food that was made and created in a world that also has a lot of politically manufactured famine. And I feel like that is an important thing to acknowledge.
Yes.
As we have food and we have the privilege of living in this.
And all the
city.
Variety that we're able to have
Yes.
is not something that most people have in this world.
No.
No, I very much agree. I feel very privileged to have this, and I wish this level of abundance was more available the world over. And I also think that this abundance is temporary, and it will not be this way even for the most privileged places in the world for
Yes.
a whole lot longer in the scheme of the world.
Yep.
So,
It might be even in our lifetime.
yes. I mean, it could be going back to an age of what's in season, and that's all you get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not terrible. I think
That's how humanity has lived for most of its
Yes.
existence.
I think that has like a more reciprocal relationship with the earth.
Mm-hmm.
But it will feel like we are losing things.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, no raspberries in the midst of winter, or like...
Yeah. Unless you got a bunch and you made the jam.
Yeah, exactly.
They're literally called preserves.
Yeah. Literally.
So, this, for me, is an exploration because I've had like a very weird relationship with work and with creativity, and they've always kind of felt at odds, especially like in a work setting where creativity, even when at face value is valued, is stated, oh, we love creativity.
Yeah.
It ends up becoming this like succubus on my creativity, or
Yep.
it's not actually valued at all, or no, be creative in this particular way. So there's like this misunderstanding of what creativity is within a work setting. There's a misunderstanding of what work is within creativity. So I just like blanket question that we can answer throughout our conversation.
Yeah.
Is what is and is not creativity, and what is and is not work to you? How do you conceptualize that?
I mean, first I was struck a little bit when you were saying like you'll people say that creativity is valued but it isn't, or be creative but like be creative this way and not that way. One acknowledgement that pushes slightly against that just to start with is that I think that creativity within constraints produces some of the most amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
That is not to say that corporations do it the right way or that it is done for the right purpose. I think the biggest difficulty with merging creativity and like quote unquote work is that like you in order to be truly creative, you got to decide that you have some message that you want to convey. And usually in like most artistic creative work, you're doing that because you want to express that message. Where in work, you're being told the message that you need to create. And usually, if art, quote unquote, is like a medium to deliver a message, it is often something about life or something about that you want to acknowledge.
Right.
In work, it's often for manipulation. Like, if you're doing it for marketing, your job is to be creative and make a creative campaign, but the ultimate goal of it is not to express the value of the product. The ultimate goal is to manipulate your audience to buy the product.
Yes.
Right. And as much as we'll, like, put pretty language on it in work and be like, no, it's because we want to make sure we're getting the word out there and that people see how much value it's going to change their lives. The truth is, the bottom line is they still want you to increase their bottom line.
Right.
And so I think, unfortunately, there will always be an odds between creativity and work, unless you become one of those few very lucky individuals who is a famous artist.
Right.
Right. And like you literally get to make money off of expressing your ideas. But that's so few people.
Right.
So I have come to a place in my life where like I started pursuing game design and being like, oh my god, I'm gonna make video games. Like I love video games. I want to be a game writer. I'm gonna like make the best games ever. And like quickly was disillusioned of the culture of that and how that actually goes. And at some point, I don't remember who told me this now, but like somebody told me essentially that like it's not do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. It's like do what you love for work and you'll learn to hate it. Mm-hmm. And it was better for me to decide in my life to have work be something that is a marketable skill that I have, mm-hmm. and save my creative endeavors for my own personal life.
Right.
Because then I wouldn't be bound by any of the corporate structure or work demands that both suck your creativity away, instead are succubus on that mm-hmm, energy, mm-hmm. but also prevent you from making what you want to do, what you want to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just this is my understanding.
Yeah.
In the like Ryan Batten philosophy of life.
Yeah.
From what you just said. And there's overlap in this, so I'm arbitrarily creating two categories because we're talking about creativity and work as though they're separate, but they're like really not.
Yeah.
But creativity is expression.
Mm-hmm.
It is sharing something. It is expressing, and work is a skill that is obviously can tie into creativity, but is a skill in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. How does that overlap with like product management for you?
Sure. I think there. Oh, go ahead.
Also, sorry, just because the class probably doesn't know. Can you tell everybody what product management is? Because nobody knows what it is.
First off, product management is not project management. Project, different things. But as a product manager, this is usually for tech. This is the industry that I'm in. I act as the center of a lot of different moving parts of the business. The outcome of what you see me most often doing is directing or planning or creating the work for developers and designers to create software. The reality of what I'm doing is I'm sitting in the juncture of where sales and marketing and customer experience and design and IT and any other department that might need to be involved in executing these things. And my job is to be able to understand all of them and express each other's messages to each other. That's maybe a simplistic way of putting it. There's a lot of like me taking company goals and like creating strategies that need to be executed and finding ways to execute them, whether they are changing the software or changing the way that customer success works to answer the phones for customers or whatever. But that is what product management is. There are parts of it that are very creative. And I think that having a background or a inclination towards creativity and art has definitely helped me in terms of understanding designers, understanding marketing, understanding how to take abstract ideas or oversimplified requests and see beneath the surface. In itself, I make no actual creative output. In that I'm not creating an artifact that you could like look at later and be like, oh my god, I got the message of this.
Right.
Very rarely am I an I did. It's often a we did in my career.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then, for me, there's actually a lot of creativity within that. Mm-hmm. And the way, and specifically, I'm glad you mentioned this word because I actually wrote it down in my notes, the word manipulation.
Yeah.
I think that has a bad rap of a word.
Uh-huh.
But I think it's actually like a really great thing that we all do all the time. And I feel like you, in your jobs, are looking at how everyone needs to be aligned, which requires an amount of manipulation. Not blind, not telling them to do something malicious, but just like, and that's creative. You are telling people, you're constructing a narrative for people to understand.
Yeah.
That like aligns all of them.
For sure, yeah, and I agree. Manipulation has a bad rap, and maybe I think when we try to put a prettier bow on it, we call it influence, or like you said, building alignment.
Just call it what it is.
Right, it's manipulation at the end of the day, and part of that comes from creativity I have. Part of that comes from a lot of like social and emotional intelligence that I have. But ultimately, it's like the creativity comes in hearing the inputs of like 5 different places and being like, where do they overlap? Who's misunderstanding who and talking past each other, and how do I repackage these messages into a narrative, like you said, that can bring them all on board?
Yes.
I've had to like, and the creativity comes in like talking to different audiences. I've had to like convince CEOs that their like hair-schemed idea or harebrained idea that they had at like 3:00 in the morning was a bad idea. And you have to do that.
This is every CEO.
This is every CEO.
This is
what they do.
Fucking CEO.
Yeah, every CEO thinks they're a genius and has an idea at 3 a.m. or gets on a phone call with a potential customer and they ask them something and they think it's the perfect idea. I've had to talk them off the cliff, and it takes approaching that audience very delicately in a different way to convince them that it's maybe their own idea to want to step away from that cliff. And then I've also had to like bring stubborn engineers along for like really cool design ideas that they think are going to be too hard to make, and so they're like, I don't want. Why do we gotta do it this way? We just find it throws this way, and I've got to figure out how to bring them across that divide of being very like systematic and efficient to like why the creativity or why the design, the creative part of it, is actually valuable.
Right.
In the scheme of how the user works.
Right. We should probably talk about our overlap. So we have created a lot of meals together.
Yes, we have.
We've cooked a lot of food. We've also started this like weird adventure that's like kind of this side quest in our unemployment.
This maybe consulting, maybe business therapy, maybe.
So we've started doing this like business consulting that originally was like product marketing, but then really has like devolved through business therapy sessions of like, what do you actually need? And it is not a product marketing plan.
Yeah.
You need many, many other things. And it's really interesting to me because it's totally a different world than I'm used to working in.
Right.
But I'm curious about your career path.
Yeah.
However you would. Because in the last 5 years, we've also had a lot of like reflecting tumult in our career paths.
Yeah. Of like how I got here, you think? Or,
however you define that. I mean, we talk about these things like a career, like what even is that?
What even is a career, right? And ultimately landing in product management for me was like, to be extremely modest about it, was the result of a lack of focus throughout most of my life. That has come together into something that is cohesive, I guess, or feels
cool.
cohesive.
I didn't know that.
Just in that, like, growing up, I was a kid who, when you asked what I wanted to be when I grew up, it was like different like every week.
Yeah.
Like, I was not like somebody who for a long time was like, I want to be a fireman or whatever. Like, and it was always weird things. Like, I wanted to be a geologist. I wanted to be a marine biologist. I think everyone goes through that phase as a kid where they're like, oh my god, I want to play with dolphins.
I'm just going to say I did not go through
You did not? Okay, well, maybe that was me. But, I had a lot of, like, different science things I wanted to do growing up. And, like, I think for the first part of my life, I was very engineer-y in that way. And that there was a lot of things in, like, the math and science world that really appealed to me. Because I liked learning. I liked learning about systems and trying to explain how they work to people. To the point that, like, my mom has a story she tells everyone about how my grandma would babysit me and bring me back to her, like, exhausted. because I spent the entire day talking at her about how I thought the world worked. It was a child's version of how it worked, but I'd be like, this works this way because of this, and this works this way because of this, and I would like explain just in a circle all day long how things worked.
Amazing.
I think that curiosity is kind of like what led me down a very like math and sciencey path for part of my life. And then as I got into this is more than just my career path, this is my entire life path, I guess. But as I got more into my teenage years, I sort of like got more rebellious and like coming into a realization about my homosexuality and like being in the closet. It led me down a path of trying to find ways to express myself that were like still heterosexually acceptable. And so I started getting into more creative paths that were like taking some art classes, and like I was like the head of the photography club and started doing all this photography stuff, and I like ended up dropping out of most of my math and science stuff in high school and taking like all art classes my senior year. And the through line of all this is that I was super into games, and I was a very nerdy kid and enjoyed like playing all these like JRPGs and everything that always have these systems you need to learn how to play, how to figure out, and like do all this stuff. And when it came down for college, I was like, you know, you go to a college advisor or a high school advisor, and they're like, "What do you want to do? Like, let's find the right college for you. What do you want to major in?" And I was like, I don't know. And I would just like say like 10 random things. I'd be like architecture and writing, and then it'd be like, I don't know what college fits for all this. And ultimately, like I ended up kind of going for the first college that came along that appealed to me, and it was Columbia College Chicago in the South Loop, which is an art school. But I think what ended up appealing to it most about me was not the focus that there was something there I wanted to do, as much as it was that they had like a digital media major, and they were in a city that I knew was full of homosexuals.
Yes.
And it was like a getaway path to me to go somewhere where I might be able to come out of the closet.
Honestly, that's like such a good reason.
Yeah.
To go.
I mean, it's why so many of us end up flocking to cities, is that we know that there's opportunity to
but
not
even
just...
that choice for the school.
Right.
Like...
I don't think I knew quite what I was choosing when I did it.
Yeah.
But once again, all these like lack of focus, kind of like making decisions as whatever I felt of the day. And then in school I majored in game design, and like kind of talked a bit about that, how I like learned a lot about actual engineering and how to program things. I learned a lot about how to bring teams together. My major was not actually programming, it was game design, which meant that most of my job was like most of my major was about figuring out the rules of how a game should work.
Cool.
Which is system building. It's like,
yeah,
you know, we would make board games for projects.
Yes.
And then play test them in the room. And then we started moving digital. All of a sudden there's this whole component of like managing people, and like how do I work with like an audio major and a 3D art major and a programming major and a design major and make a game out of that.
Yeah.
And so I got this sort of like early exposure to how to coordinate teams and pull things together, and my sort of like dipping my toes into design and math in the past had kind of made it easier for me to translate between the two.
Cool.
And then when I got into my career, I was a programmer for a bit, and then like as soon as I saw opportunities to like lead teams or like move into product management, I did.
Cool.
It was kind of the first time that things just like fit. It was like, oh, there is something that uses all these skills that I can do.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't directly use any of them, it like brings it all together.
Yeah. That adds so much more insight into such a small phrase from the beginning of our conversation of like marketable skill.
Yeah.
Because it really is this like trial and error process of life as you're figuring out how you relate to the world around you and needs that you can fill.
Yeah.
Which is a creative problem too.
Sure.
Like I personally feel like life is creative force. And like that is a prime example for me of you were just figuring out how your interests overlapped with needs around you.
Yeah. And,
awesome.
And you know, not to be like totally a curmudgeon, but like in this capitalist hell that we live in, the only real way to get by is to find what part of you can you sell, right?
Yeah.
And luckily for me, I found a way to use a lot of these little parts of me that are somewhat disparate and package them in a way that is sellable.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think about it too much until this conversation, but I think also the fact that I don't have to lean too hard into any one of those pieces leaves me a lot of energy in the rest of my life to do other things.
Yeah.
That if I were like designing full time and gone whole hog into that, I probably wouldn't want to ever make art on my own.
Right.
If I'd become a programmer, I'd like never want to like try and figure out the world at all, and I wasn't figuring it out on a in a window of programming something.
Right.
But instead of kind of like playing in this world that dabbles in all of them, give me a lot of energy elsewhere. Yeah.
Very cool. Tell me more about games. Why are games important? What do you love about games?
The realization I've had in the past few years is that I am a golden retriever person.
Does that mean you have ADHD?
No! In fact, what's funny is, so, in relationships, they say there's often like the golden retriever and the black cat, right?
Yes.
My boyfriend is the black cat in our relationship, and he has diagnosed very real ADHD. And I have much more organizational skill and focus than he does, but when I say that I'm a golden retriever, my brain requires a lot of stimulus. I need activities. I need things to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I got this from my father. He's a workaholic, and that is how he has translated this. And for me, it's that, like, when I sit down to watch a TV show or, like, watch a movie, I can't, like, do that for a long time. I, like, lose attention.
Yes.
But if I'm playing a game, it, like, engages a different part of my brain that it's like you're building something or you're exploring something. I'm not just taking in. There's input and output.
Yeah.
But growing up, I think on the other side of like why have I gotten into the games in the first place is I was a pretty independent kid. I was pretty nerdy as well, as is known. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up initially, so like games were a place I could go to and like get some approximate feeling of friends, like through playing these RPGs and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then as I started becoming into my own, as like being in the closet, it was also a safe place to, not have to be facing that all the time. It was an escape.
Yeah.
And so it's multifaceted why it's become such an important part of my life, but at this point, I don't know whether to call it good or bad, when I need to just like disassociate for a while and like de-stress, going into a game is the best way to do that for me.
Yeah, I think it's super healthy.
Yeah.
What are some favorite games? What does everybody need to play? This is an
What
ad.
does everybody need to play? Everybody needs to play Shadow of the Colossus. One of my favorite games ever. It was the first game I played where it successfully made me feel small, because you play this character who is hunting these colossi that are like creatures or golems or statues that move, that are like you barely come up to the top of one of their toes in terms of size. And to like fight and defeat them, you literally climb them and have to like find out how to like get inside them or get to their weak point. And it's just very cinematic. It's very like, it's a game that wasn't afraid to like take things slow and slow down and make you look at the scenery and the process. It has almost no dialogue to express a really strong narrative. I just have a lot of respect for a lot of the things that it did.
Cool. When did it come out?
It is not new. It is like 2007?
Okay.
8?
Okay.
So back from the PS2 era, but amazing game.
Cool.
I'll say that's my top.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah.
My last question that I'm asking everybody, so if you have more that you want, like, we can talk about whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about like, just your dreams for the future.
Yeah. Despite all I've talked about here of finding something that helps merge my all my different abilities into a package of product management, I don't think it's my forever place. I honestly, and whether it's the state of the world or the trials of working in an industry like tech, I have dreams of getting out of it. And if I had to speak like really pie in the high dreams, or pie in the sky dreams, it would be to like open a shop.
What kind of shop? A sex shop.
Sex shop. No, not to like sound like David from Schitt's Creek or something, but like kind of just a wares shop.
Yeah.
I am, on top of all the other things, I'm very into fashion and style, and so I would love to like make a clothing shop, like a men's clothing line shop.
Cool.
Not make my own line, but like curate essentially.
Yeah.
But on top of that as well, like scents I'm really into, and like home goods and that sort of thing. There is a shop kind of like this in Andersonville called Cowboys and Astronauts. Not that it's a perfect model of what I'd like to do, but something along those lines. It's like a lifestyle shop.
Awesome.
And I think that there is there's always a market for these kind of shops, but like there's a lot of Chicago that lacks part of this. There's not a whole lot of places in Chicago to like get specifically men's clothing that isn't just like going to Express or something like that. But it is cutthroat to run a shop, which is why I say it's pretty pie in the sky.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. We'll see where life leads.
Steven and I have talked about so much. This is going back to sex shop.
Yeah.
So much of the like food, sex fantasies are using like terrible food.
Do you mean like
Hershey's chocolate syrup?
Oh yeah. No, okay, yes.
And we want like gourmet sex fantasy food.
Oh. So like the finest dark chocolate
Yes.
as opposed to Hershey's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Live a little.
Like you want to make the charcuterie board of
Yes.
the
Also,
the literal charcuterie board.
Yes. Give me crudo on my hole. Like,
yeah. Crudo hole. I mean, I kind of love it.
Kind of a joke.
Yeah, it's kind of a joke.
It could be hilarious.
I'm just imagining like it's like a fromagerie like tasting experience you go to where it's like an 18 and up only like tasting room you go to, and there you hire people to just like lay there and they serve the food on them as the tasting.
Is it the camembert, or have they not showered in it?
Yes. Literally.
Now smell it with the shaved truffle.
Oh no. Oh, it's vile.
Give that a taste. We are going to write a poem or a prose about a favorite book that avoids copyright.
That avoids copyright.
But we don't have to film our creative process.
Our poem is titled Crona's Book. Jesus is dragon, many names to remember. Who run the world? Girls.